Welcome back to Breakfast Central. This brand new week, I have Olive Emodi. Very excited to have our third man back, but before he gets to introduce himself, because we have to do a special welcome for him, Gbenga, over to you.
I'm Gbenga. Welcome to Breakfast Central. Brand new week. We have a lot for you today on Tuesday, on Wednesday, and Thursday, and Friday. And then because we know you guys miss us, we now gave Nigerians opportunity of employment to do it on Saturday and Sunday.
With breakfast extra.
Instead of taking it 7 days, because even God rested on the seventh day.
Right.
Okay.
Now, with great joy in our heart, we want to announce to you the return of the third Avenger of Nigeria's media, the one and only Johansson, all the way from River State, Port Harcourt. It's a pleasure to have you back, sir.
Thank you so much. Thank you
so
so much.
That looks good on you.
So great.
I must be honest, Port Harcourt is amazing. It's fantastic. The people there are beautiful people. Mwah. Thank you so much, Port Harcourt.
We hear that they almost beat you in Port Harcourt.
We saw you on TV. There was a little bit of a hula baloo.
Yeah,
Can you explain the rancor and the shenanigans that was going down?
Well, it was a case of having people who, it was a family meeting, just like you have family meetings,
Yeah.
and then you have people who are not okay with
There was
certain
a man with a
aggressors.
microphone. What did that man say that triggered them?
So all he simply said was he was talking about the FCT minister, and the way in which he put it, a certain quarter didn't like the fact that he was pointing fingers at the FCT minister, and they said no, he shouldn't say that. He should take his words back. And another faction was saying, what do you mean? Why can't he talk?
I mean, it's a town hall.
After all, is he not from River State?
Yeah.
And then there were some people who were saying this man is not from River State, and he's like, I'm from River State. I'm from Billy. What's that? Yeah.
Obiakpo?
No. Is it a Billy community or where?
Oh yes,
yes. They had that report as well, and he spoke, and everybody said, well, so what we had that day is a case of you have people who are supporting and those who are not supporting.
Of course, it was bound to happen.
But
as a professional MC and moderator, how did you wriggle your way out of that? How do you rig my roll out of those shenanigans?
Gbenga, what's going on this morning?
Is Gbenga drinking something? Let's find out.
Nothing.
No, please answer our question. Oh, maybe it's my English that is too hard.
No, it's okay.
English is
It's okay.
It's more. You need to calm down.
I went to school.
You know, he just came back from Port Harcourt, so I have to impress him.
What we could do was just to appeal to them. That we need to. Funnily, before we started, I had mentioned that each person may flare up. Tensions would be in the air, so everyone should get ready to just take it down, and then it happened.
I think it's not surprising that happened in River State, because in River State we've seen that there have been divergent views before even the state of emergency was declared. We've seen those who are the pro-Wike, the pro-Fuba, even though we are hearing that there might be a reconciliation in the air, which we'll be happy to see, because at the end of the day,
it was said that
we want to move on.
It was said that by the Ijaw National, the president himself. He said that he's part of the reconciliation team.
Oh, the gentleman with the white beard.
With the white hat.
Okay.
And he said he's part of the reconciliation team, and they've already met. Background, I like his speech. He was the penultimate speaker. When he came, he simply said, he just laughed. He made it a bit easier and said, listen, he said, all of you fighting, FCT minister and the governor will settle on your heads.
Hey!
That people are just wasting.
It's giving couple vibes. With couple, it's like, don't put your mouth inside husband and wife.
That's exactly. That was his speech. And you don't need to. Don't worry. They will settle. And he's part of them, so he's not going to say much, but he can tell you that they're close and they're going to settle. So everybody should just sheath their swords and they should just move ahead.
No. My own is, why did they have to fight the kind of fight that would jeopardize governance in the state? They should have fought their couples fight. Haven't you seen when couples are fighting, but their parents or family friends will come to the house and they'll put up a nice face for the public? They should have done that for us. Please, it has caused too much mayhem. We are tired of the drama that it has caused. We want River State to move forward.
But kudos to News Central and management for putting this up. And it was a town hall to remember. The first town hall with a little bit of a rancor.
Yeah.
I mean, is River State living up to its reputation?
It was almost like Royal Rumble.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, well done to all the people that showed up in Rivers State for the town hall. And that is the delectable Johansson, broadcaster of international repute there, handling and moderating the affairs in Rivers State. And now back in the studio with us here on Breakfast Central.
Yeah, a living legend.
Yeah. So he's not the one who traveled. There's been a lot of traveling in recent times, from Johansson and the New Central Gang traveling to Rivers State. We also have the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria traveling to, meet the Pope Leo XIV in Rome. And it was a royal welcome and a very interesting celebration that happened over there. Joe, did you also go to cover that?
No, I did not. I couldn't get a connecting flight.
Oh, I see.
Well, look, Mr. President.
Looking dapper.
That's Mr. President. He was all looking dapper.
I love his suit.
A bespoke suit.
The suit
he's
suits
wearing,
him.
yeah, he's wearing a peak lapel. His pants are that of a bit similar to a Giorgio Armani pant. I don't know what brand it was. I mean, I like his shades as well. I mean, this is what we're talking about. Dressed like for the occasion.
Yeah, he looks really good. The suit suits him, and I mean, I think that it's a very welcome development. We can see him there shaking hands with the Pope, receiving blessings for the great country of Nigeria. Holy blessings from the room.
We tap into those blessings.
I was expecting that people would say, I tap into your, the usual thing that we hear every now and then. But the good news is, the president wasn't alone. You could see his son was equally there. Although social media is still agog with the fact that many have said, why would he always go with his son? And everybody
is it my son he's supposed to go with?
No, but if his son is traveling on
the first lady,
taxpayers.
People were asking where's the first lady.
He has businesses. He has money of his own. So if he's traveling, if he decides to go with his father, he can pay his own bills.
Oh.
How much is flight from Lagos to Rome?
Oh. People were asking, where's the first lady? We're expecting the first lady to go with him. And hopefully, we're also expecting that if she goes with him, I mean, it would have added more. And I'm like, listen, Nigerians, we worry ourselves
We complain too much. If she had gone, they would still say, oh, is there an office of the first lady? She go, they will talk. She would not go. Let's focus on the things that, have issues that we should be bothering ourselves with.
But my concern is, after this meeting with the Pope, the president met with the architects, those ones that built Rome in a day, because things need to be done in Nigeria. And although they say Rome was not built in a day, we need roads to be fixed. We need the state of health care. We need schools to be fixed. So if the president had met with the planners of Rome, although it wasn't built in a day,
maybe they can help Nigeria to build it in a day. They see what they did wrong to ensure that we don't repeat the same
Rome
mistake.
might not be built in a day, but Abuja and Lagos and Nigeria can be built in a day.
Anyway, former minister was equally there. Mr.
Fayemi,
he was there as well. And yes,
and Mr. Peter Obi, yes,
was there. But one thing I didn't really understand was the fact that the essay, there was a picture. Yeah, that's a picture. There was also a picture where the president was seated, and you could find Mr. Peter Obi at the back, and they moved closer. Nigerians again have gone on social media to say, look at how excited everybody was when they saw Peter Obi. And you can't help but look deeply and say, okay, everybody was smiling, but it depends. And because Nigerians said this, the SA to the president, Bayo Onanuga, had to come out and put out a tweet to say, calm down, let me explain what was going on, why the president was laughing, the son was laughing, everyone was laughing. I mean, he went on to say, Fayemi cited President Tinubu where he sat with other leaders and asked Obi to follow him to pay homage to the Nigerian leader. Obi agreed. This is like a Tales by Moonlight story.
Please continue this story.
I love it. Fayemi broke the ice between Obi and Tinubu. He said,
Mr. President, welcome to our church and thank you for honoring the Pope with your presence.
President Tinubu, ever quick-witted, responded,
I should be the one welcoming you and Peter. I'm the head of the Nigerian delegation.
The president's response cracked up Obi, who agreed with the president. Obi said,
yes, indeed, we are members of your delegation.
Peter Obi and Fayemi are staunch Catholics and Papal Knights. End of this story.
What a beautiful story. And that's Madam Bianca Ojukwu in the background, the Minister of State.
What's the moral of the story?
I don't get it. Was it really necessary?
No, what's the moral?
The moral of the story is that in politics, don't fight to the finish. Still have some level of decorum and civility at that level. Because when you see their supporters on social media, it's got a language sometimes, it's really, really personal. But look at the people you're fighting.
They will see each other. Obi will still
very
say...
cordial and respectful to each other.
Obi will still say the president is a senior brother.
And all of that. Then the other angle, that Mr. Bayon Anuga's angle, was this necessary, really?
No, it wasn't necessary. I think that
the picture already tells the story, so it's not, oh, this is... I mean, he's just doing his job at the end of the day.
No. There's an extent to which you will do your job. There's
He's doing it too much.
It's Asheju along fair. You know, that one is what they call Asheju. It's doing too much. That particular one, it wasn't necessary.
Is it over syllabus?
You didn't need to explain why a president and a former governor / presidential aspirant, they battled against each other. Peter Obi has never been a bitter person. Peter Obi is one that they know that has this good spirit of sportsmanship, and it's expected that the president, as the president of the Federal Republic of the country of Nigeria and the father of the nation, will be cordial too. So I didn't expect that there will be animosity between them when they see each other. You know, and people will be very, very...
No, you're speaking as a sophisticated person. He had to break it down for ordinary Nigerians.
He had to break it down because I don't know. Exactly. Things. Many, like I said, some people were saying that, oh, look at how it was much more like they were beaming the light on Mr. Peter Obi.
They will always beam the light on Mr. Peter Obi.
Look at how everyone is happy.
Be the bigger person, ignore and move on.
And I'm like, they said, look at how everybody's happy around him. Even the son of the president.
That's social media just being...
Exactly.
Social media...
I think social media being social media.
People that are jobless looking for stories to make out of nothing. That's what really it is.
Yeah, you shouldn't catch debate every time.
Exactly. Sometimes just let it go. Yeah. You don't have to explain and, you know, be an essay in every scenario. That's not... It wasn't really necessary. Sometimes in addressing certain issues, you're then bringing attention to it that wasn't really necessary, and I think that was what was done there.
Yeah. I think Rome should be the new city of love instead of Paris.
Why do you say that?
You could see the difference. In Rome, things are romantic. Okay, let's move on.
Okay, let's move to this from that very pleasant, quote-unquote pleasant story to something not so pleasant. The reports of many being trapped as a building collapsed.
Yet again.
Last week we talked about a building collapse. This week we're talking about yet another building collapse. Let's take a look at the video of the building collapse. It's really adding to this troubling part of the building collapses that we see in different parts of the country, and wonder again, how much are we, or how better prepared are we to prevent repetition of scenarios like this, where we keep seeing buildings collapsing? Do we end up holding anybody accountable, or is it just a situation of, you know, God gives and God takes, we'll bury the dead and, you know, we'll continue like that? Are there strong measures to forestall this? I'll give you a quick background. Just yesterday, I was having a conversation with a childhood friend, and we're talking about one of the houses in which we grew up in. It wasn't the most pleasant house. And he was asking me, do you know if that house is still standing? I said, I don't know. I haven't been there in many years. But I certainly hope that that house is not standing, because that house did not deserve to stand. That was a house that should have been pulled down. It shouldn't have been built in the first place.
What state?
In Lagos State here. It shouldn't have been built in the first place. I mean, but the truth is, unfortunately, Nigerians, when you are faced with challenges, you don't have a lot of money. You're trying to manage and look for how to make ends meet. You then pay for such a house. But you see the house is as narrow as 2 slices of bread, and any minute now, it can fall down. And you start to see cracks on the wall. You can see the cracks there, and these landlords are still having the nerve to increase their rents. There's certain houses that should not be erected, and even if they've been erected, they should be pulled down.
That's why we have a building control agency to regulate.
I should probably go and find out if the house is still standing, so I can report
to regulate the building space, and also mark buildings that can't stand the integrity test for demolition. It's the right of the government to protect lives of citizens. They have that responsibility. But I know they might have manpower challenges, and they expect people to regulate. That's why we have the Nigerian Society of Engineers. That's why we have Coren and others, other groups with members. So you know that the engineers, the builders, the surveyors are not quacks. It's professionals that are doing this. But government can be in every single square meter of the state. We expect people to do things in the best, in the interest of the public good. But unfortunately, that's not always the situation, and we see things like this. But it's become tiring. We almost sound like robots. It's repetitive every time this happens. Okay, we're going to set up an inquiry to look into this. We never hear the results. We never hear X or Y person was fired or persecuted. Lives are always lost here. Until we do something about it, holistic, sadly, we're waiting for the next one to happen.
I mean, this happened on Sunday, just yesterday at about 3 p.m. They were able to rescue only one person so far. I don't know about this morning. We hope that, I mean, hopefully our correspondent will be there this morning, and hopefully they can join us from there to find out what the update is. From the Lagos State Fire and Rescue Services, a spokesperson, I mean, he said that it was a sad situation. They're only able to rescue just one person. Efforts were ongoing up until midnight. But don't forget that, like you've highlighted, both, I mean, Olive and Gbenga, it's just too common. It's starting to look common. Olive had mentioned that where she grew up. You took me back to where I also grew up. I mean, at some point, the house was tilting this way, you know. And even when we left, some few years ago, I decided to go back. I mean, it's in Surulere. I had to go back to Surulere just to pass by. You know, sometimes you have to go look back from where you came from. Yeah. And I saw the building. It was still caving this way.
Oh my God.
And cracks were all over everywhere.
Are there people living
you could
there?
Find the iron.
Are there people
of course, there are people living there.
People are there.
Of course, we have a housing problem. People are struggling. People are poor.
It's tough. People are there. But
whatever they can afford.
Yeah, but life doesn't have a substitute. They need to do something. Another thing I want to highlight from that video, and we see this a lot, is when disasters like this happen, people gather. You need to make way for fire service, emergency services. It's not a spectacle. It's not a circus. It's not entertainment for you to take out your phones and start recording. Nigerians need to do better. Please, it's not necessary for you to go there. The first responders are there. Fine, thank God. Make a call the fire service, and go back to what you were doing. It's not a viewing center. It's really sad that we see things like that.
I mean, just to give the latest update that we have from NEMA regarding that story, they put out a tweet 12 hours ago, and in that tweet, they made reference to this two-story building that collapsed. It was under construction, located at Ishaga Road, opposite the Central Mosque in Idiaraba, Mushin. And then they said upon arrival at the scene, emergency responders commenced immediate search and rescue operations. And so far, 2 individuals have been successfully rescued and transported to a nearby hospital for medical attention. The search and rescue operations are still ongoing, with NEMA working alongside other relevant stakeholders, including LASEMA, the fire service, police, and local volunteers, to ensure that no one is left trapped under the rubble. So they've said that further updates will be given. So far, that's all that they've given. There hasn't been, you know, more updates in that regard. But our hearts, again, would always go out to the citizens who, unfortunately, have to be the ones to bear the brunt of this kind of story. Is really sad. But this is also a reminder to us, since we are all sharing stories of our childhood, for people who are in houses, I think as much as we can, we also have a responsibility to be our own, to work with the government. If we see certain buildings that you think are not, they're about to, you know, cave, they're going to cave under the weight of pressure, on that, you know, you're starting to see cracks. It's important to highlight these things, because what you're doing is, now I look like you're a snitch, but you're saving the lives of the people.
But who are they going to report to as well?
I mean, Lagos State Building Control Agency.
But are they accessible?
What's their phone number?
We should actually bring them on the show.
Do they
Lagos State
advertise?
Secretariat, all the government in Alausa, government agencies are there.
I mean, I don't mean to play devil's advocate here, but I think from the time where Lagos suffered multiple collapses, it was a call to action for Lagos to say, listen, let's drive conversations. It's the same thing that's going to happen with the real estate that is ongoing now. I'm sure you saw the buildings that were demolished along the Lekki axis, where people were building a sand-filled canal and they built houses. People paid close to about, I think those houses were going for about 120 to 180 million, and they demolished about 34. Now, everybody who paid for those houses, the true story came out with proof, video proof, that they had to settle the Lagos state representatives who came there to have cordoned off the place and warned them not to build. We heard, according to that video, and the proof is online, that they settled them 5 million each. And then they turned the other way and let them build. They finished the building, put it out for sale. People bought the houses. People moved in. It's been years gone, and then Lagos State comes back and says, "Who gave you guys the right to build this?" So the same thing with the houses, going down, collapsing. Maybe it's time for the agencies to come out and put out a strong statement. Listen, if you find that there's a house that's cracked, this and that, this is a campaign. Call this number, do this and do that.
That's a good one. More sensitization, going on TV stations, media houses, newspaper front pages, saying if you see any building that the integrity is compromised, you worry, please call this number. You don't have to drop your name. It can be an anonymous call. Sort of a case of whistleblowers, right? Let us know. We will come and do the inspection, and if we find that these houses have failed the integrity test, we're bringing them down. And the people who look the other way, just so that these people can build, they also should be found and arrested and made to face the law. Because how do you look away because they gave you 5 million naira? Years later, they should be prosecuted now. They can track it down. Who collected the money and looked away? Anyway.
Away from that, though, to a sad story, I'm sure a lot of us are followers of the United States politics in quotes. Well, the story did come out yesterday that former President Joe Biden has been diagnosed with aggressive form of prostate cancer. Yes, prostate cancer. It was said that he is actually has a Gleason score of 9. That's really high. Some have prostate cancer of about 2, 3 with a Gleason score, 3, 4, 5, 6, and so on. But for prostate, he's had as close as 9. 9 Gleason score simply means that it's really high, and they also say that it's got into the metastasis bone.
That's not good. Hearing that he has prostate cancer is not the most welcoming news. It's really sad to hear. He ran again. He had to step down, of course. I don't know, maybe I would say it's a blessing in disguise that he's not having to do this whilst still dealing
with issues of state,
President of the United States of America. But really, this is not the kind of thing you wish on anybody, regardless of what your political affiliations are, whether you were in support of him, whether you were in support of his party or not. This is not the kind of news that anybody wants to hear. So we don't know how this is going to turn out, but we just certainly wish for him the best, and we hope that this is... the United States has top-notch medical technology. We hope that they're able to care for him, and when I hear aggressive, it bothers me, because I don't know if that means that it's gotten to the terminal level. I'm not sure.
Reading a little bit more on it and I had my check last year. I had a check last year, and I'm going to ask Gbenga, I hope you've done your check.
Young men from the age of 40 or before.
I had my check. I had my first check when I was 36. So I think it's right that after a few years,
wow,
you
so
should be able to...
I was about to say that. So you're that old. Wow.
I'm an elderly person. I'm not Gen Z like my sister.
Hello?
Forever 21, I'm saying.
Come on. And you know those old songs, right?
Yeah.
And you are still 20.
No, it's our parents exposed us to.
Anyway, I suggest that every man should go for a checkup. It's very key. It may not be the most comfortable one. Just like you also have for the women who go for their... It's not always comfortable, apart from the, and so on. But you should check it out. It's very key. One thing, why this story is very important to us, Olive, and I want to highlight it here. African leaders can learn a thing or two from this story. What do I mean? One, did you notice that Joe Biden's camp had noticed that his health was waning? And during the pre-election period, especially during the debates, they could tell. And what did they do? They quickly put up a team, ran into a quick meeting, closed-door meeting, and said, listen, we need to ensure that we take him out of the campaign and bring in Kamala Harris, because they had to look for a quick replacement. What's the lesson there? But come back to Africa. Go to Cameroon. Go to some of the African leaders who are aged. They are not doing well health-wise. But there's this thing about the camp saying, don't worry, Baba must continue. This is a clear indication that, listen, when it comes to health, it affects every spine it doesn't allow you to carry out your duties or responsibilities, especially if you are responsible to the citizens who may number well over 200 and something billion like in Nigeria. But I like what they did there. They told him, listen, take the back seat, Kamala Harris, go forward. And now the story is coming out that, listen, he's fighting this. So the bottom line for me is, while I saw the story, I said, I mean, this is good to come out and say he's not feeling well. I mean, our hearts are with him and the family. But it's also a key indicator for African leaders that if you're well over a certain age, you should also consider, if you're not strong enough to run for office, to actually step back.
I mean, Cameroon's president is 92 years old.
92?
Yes, Mr. Paul Biya.
I remember
he was in America and he couldn't even remember. He couldn't
remember where he was.
But they're still propping him up and all of that. Yoweri Museveni will be 80 years old this year, and he's still seeking re-election. By the way, he's been president of Uganda for the last 39 years.
And he's going to hand over to Kainerugaba.
Since 1984.
Is 80, and he has been president since 1980. So,
remember the incidents of going to the international community and farting on stage? Farting?
Was it farting or?
Yes.
He was farting on stage.
Yeah.
He kept farting and he stood up and they asked, and he kept asking his SC, where am I?
Where am I?
Where am I?
I wanted to mention, was it South Sudan?
But nobody.
Yes. Mentioned that one. Remember how?
Yes, how they fired the camera and they locked up the cameraman for
showing that.
Anyway. But at the end of the day, it's Captain Ibrahim Traoré.
But then again,
that is their problem. General Langley will not see all this type of leaders to complain about.
These people seem to be in support of. But then again, whilst we're saying that really cancer is not a respecter of any man, it can happen to anybody. So our hearts really does go out to the former president of the United States, and we hope that he can find ways to manage it. They say that it has gotten to his bones. It's an aggressive form that thrives on the hormones, but there are few limited treatment options available. We do hope that they're able to maintain a decent quality of life for him, and that that his body responds to treatment. And like Joe has said, a reminder to us all to go and get checked. Do your annual checks. Men, women, do your annual checks. What can save your life is the fact that you've done, because you do want early detection. You do a check this year, you get a clean bill of health. You do a check next year, you find out that, oh, something has developed, and that thing will be under a year. So you're able to quickly nip it in the bud. So we hope that this is your reminder. If you've been thinking, I need to go do my check, consider this your reminder. Schedule it, and a hack to go around it is every year on your birthday, gift that to yourself as, a way of marking your birthday. Go and do a health check on your birthday. That way you never forget. Anyway, let's now share with you our top stories this morning on Breakfast Central.